Hello and welcome to Innovative Learning Process. Now we'll take History Means syllabus, Modern History. We'll see the Cabinet Mission. Cabinet Mission came in India in 1946. Then why it came a Cabinet Mission? What was the purpose? Peaceful transfer of power. British wanted that to hand over the administration at the hands of Indians. So, peaceful transfer of power was the key purpose. So, Italy government, it means that Prime Minister Italy in Britain, the Labour government was there and it constituted a cabinet mission. Patrick Lawrence, who was the Secretary of State for India at that period of time, Patrick Lawrence, one member, and second were Eastford Cripps, third A.V. Alexander. These three members from the cabinet of British Parliament came India to break the deadlock, constitutional deadlock. The prolonged discussion had been held on interim government and framing new constitution and giving freedom to India. What were the discussions about? The interim government, framing new constitution and giving freedom to India. These were the topics which had been discussed by cabinet mission. Fundamental issue was that Congress and Muslim League, the dispute between unity and partition, this was the key issue. Congress wanted a united India, but Muslim League wanted partition of India to get their own Pakistan. So, the objectives of the cabinet mission: agreement on framing constitution, that what should be the provisions for constitution making, and formulate constitution making body, establish executive council with the support of major Indian parties. These were the objectives: to get an agreement of the framing of constitution and constitution making body, to formulate constitution making body, and also establish executive council with the support of major Indian parties. The provision was that central government at Delhi will have the powers, some like defense related power and external affairs, foreign affairs matters, and communication currency would be at the hands of British authorities. It means that there had been the complete control on defense, foreign affairs, communication, and currency and rest of the topics beyond these subjects would be handed over to at the hands of Indians. Proposals. British wanted that India should not be divided. They supported that India must be united. And hence, there was a statement of Prime Minister Italy. Prime Minister Italy gave a statement that though mindful of the rights of minorities, can't allow a minority to place their veto on advance of majority. It means that the attitude of the Britain had changed. Now they want that India would be united because the powers would be centralized and thus the negotiation would be easier from the side of Britain. But it got very late and this could not be implemented. Here, it had been rejected about the full fledged Pakistan. It completely rejected. It had been said that what about non Muslim population like 38% in northwest and 48% in northeast? What would be the about those population who are non-Muslim but they are in minorities? So it had been completely rejected about the creation of Pakistan in cabinet mission. Also, it had been highlighted that there are deep-seated regional ties and this will get disturbed if Bengal and Punjab are to be partitioned. Then regional ties and balance will get disturbed. Economic and administrative problem would be there because communication would be dependent upon India from eastern and western side of Pakistan because Pakistan would be stressed at two fronts, western and eastern, and in between a vast land would fall off Indian soil. Then what kind of communication would be there? Mostly it would be impractical. So, division of armed forces. This had also been much more complicated. Armed forces division. Also, the issues were about grouping into three sections. Section A, the states which are Hindu majority states like Madras, Bombay, Central Provinces, United Provinces, Bihar, Odisha. These were the Hindu majority states and they were placed in Section A. In Section B, Muslim majority provinces like Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, Sindh. These were placed in Section B and Section C. Muslim majority provinces like Bengal, Assam. Later, different opinions about the groupings. Congress understood that it is optional, but Muslim League thought that this is compulsory because grouping means if any province or the group of provinces want to make their own grouping, then they could get united. It means that this was the clear cut indication that the Muslim majority states would get their own, they could get united with separately, and this would be harmful for United India. So, Muslim League wanted political safeguards, and Congress wanted a strong center so that India could be united. Next, provisions about Constitutional Assembly. 389 members had been included in Constitutional Assembly. The provision was to include 389 members, where Provincial Assembly would be sending 292 members and Chief Commissioner Provinces 4 members and princely states would send 93 members. In this way, Constitutional Assembly would be created. It was not based upon the weightage system. Earlier, weightage system had been implemented, but here democratic method had been adopted. Next one, provision about defense, communication and external affairs. This had been controlled by common center. Defense, communication and external affairs. Full autonomy had been provided to states, and also residual powers had been assigned to states. Right now, it is completely opposite. Right now, in our constitution, the residual powers had been handed over to center. But in cabinet mission, the provision was that states will have full autonomy, and also the residual powers would be handed over to the states. Princely states can have an agreement with the successive government or British government. This had been made a provision that princely states could get an agreement with successive government or British government. It means that if any princely states want to join any grouping, or if they want that they will remain separate, then they have the options for opting that own will. Interim government to be formed from Constituent Assembly. This provision had also been made, that interim government would be established. Later, this plan was not accepted. This plan of cabinet mission was not accepted, and hence new plan by cabinet mission was proposed in June 1946. What was the new plan? Cabinet mission's new plan in June 1946. Proposals. Division of India. This was the first proposal, that India would be divided. Princely states could have the options to join either union or remain independent. Two options had been given to princely states, either to join union or can exist as independent. Interim government had been set up, and Viceroy invited 14 members, 5 Congress, 5 Muslim League members, and 4 members, 1 from each section like Sikh, Parsi, Christian, and scheduled castes. Each one members from all these parties. So 14 members had been invited by the Viceroy to form the Indian interim government. The implementation. Nehru headed the interim government. This was the implementation of the new cabinet mission plan. New interim government had been formed and Nehru headed it. New government began towards framing constitution, but Muslim League did not participate in framing constitution. Congress-led government formed in most provinces. Northwest Frontier Province, Bengal, Sindh. In Bengal and Sindh, Muslim League government formed Bengal and Sindh. And Northwest Frontier Province, there had been a separate government. Muslim League reaction. Now we'll see the reaction of Muslim League about the interim government. It had declared a direct action on 16th August 1946 because Muslim League thought that their plan for partition might not be working. Hence, it instigated various kinds of violent activities and declared direct action on 16th August 1946. There had been widespread communal violence. 5,000 people were killed in Calcutta. Noakhali, Bihar had been worst hit areas. Bombay, in UP, Garh Mukteshwar. These were the violent, much more violent and 5,000 people had been killed only in Calcutta. After seeing the chaotic situation, it had been seemed that the partition is inevitable. No one can stop the partition. Patel said, first of all, to acknowledge that stop if we want to stop the brutal violence, then only solution is partition and communal holocaust. Interim government is not able to stop the communal holocaust. So only one option was that partition. Now the partition. If the question is being asked that what were the situations of the partition, why it had been accepted by the Congress, then we can mention all those points. Now we'll see the partition. Attlee statement on February 20, 1947. Prime Minister Attlee made an statement in House of Commons that Britain would leave India before or on 30th June 1948. This statement had been made that till 30th June 1948, this deadline for transfer of power had been given from the Attlee, Prime Minister Attlee. And there were also hints for partition as well. The question is that why fixed date had been provided? Because parties will have to get an agreement and constitutional crisis could not be erased. Hence, the proper time frame had been ascertained. This showed the British sincerity. But this got much late. Now we see that toward partition. Illusionary hopes shattered. The reason was that it had been anticipated by the Congress leaders that there would not be a partition. We will get united. But at that point of time, this seemed total illusion because communal rights had been on a greater surge and there were no control upon the chaotic situations. It seems at that point of time that the interim government is being crippled. So, unworkability of Congress and League government. Actually, Congress and Muslim League got into the government, but they were not cooperating. Muslim League, the key purpose of the Muslim League to get into the government is to uh, only derail the agenda of the Congress and not greater cooperation for smooth functioning of the government. most insistent demand of the Hindu and Sikh that Bengal and Punjab, if there had been a partition, then what would be the fate of the people from Bengal and Punjab? And keeping the facts in mind about the violent activities and the chaotic situations and the failure of the interim government, Nehru, on March 10, 1947, accepted that only a real alternative of partition, only a real alternative is the partition of Bengal and Punjab. J.B. Kapilani in 1947, who was the president of the Congress, accepted that rather rather than have a battle, we shall let them have their Pakistan. This had been accepted by J.B. Kripalani that rather than have a battle, we shall let them have their Pakistan. It means that mostly the Congress leaders came to the point that there is inevitable in there is the situation comes that without partition it is impossible to run the government. Viceroy Mountbatten explored various options about unity and division till October 1947. However, the plan for however the cabinet mission plan had become a dead horse because Jinnah was obdurate for Pakistan and Mountbatten was trying to woo both sides, but there had not been any kind of solution for that. It means that it was nearly impossible to get India united, and hence the partition was inevitable. It had been accepted by the Congress.